also the Sham Stakes. This race starts off the West Coast Series to the Triple Crown, and it kind of goes nice from this race into the Robert Lewis, and then you have the San Felipe, and then ends up ultimately with the Santa Anita Derby. It's at a flat mile. And what's interesting about this race is we seem to have a bunch of turf horses trying that. This is where the money is this time of the year, of the dirt.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised when I looked at the field and it was like, whoa, all these turf horses are showing up here. I mean, credit to them. I don't think it came up as a super, super tough field. So if you're going to make that transition in a graded stakes race, then maybe this is the one to do it. I think when you look at this race, so there's a couple standouts. One of them is Unblunted. He was very impressive in his debut win at Santa Anita. He came back at Golden Gate and really kind of disappointed, but the track there did favor closers. And we saw that not only in that on the card that whole day, but in that race as well with Stan Salute and Broughton Kitten, moving up to finish in the top two spots. He also had a very wide trip in there. So I think that's a race that can be forgiven with him now switching back to the dirt, which he's performed well on to this point. Another one is Hero 10 All. This is going to be my choice in here. He finished second to Dortmund in debut, and obviously we've seen what Dortmund has done since then, undefeated in 3 starts. He came back at Los Al and won there in a pretty impressive fashion. I thought even though the margin of victory wasn't a ton, he won by a length and 3/4. I just thought the fashion in which he won the race was really impressive. It was one of those races where you could watch the whole time and you knew he was going to win it all the way around the track. So he's going to be the one that I'm going to be looking at here. Again, this is over a mile, just like his Los Al race was, so the distance seems to suit. I think the pace is going to suit him. He comes from off the pace, and there's a few horses in here who tend to be forwardly placed, along with a couple trackers, so I think he's going to get an honest enough pace. Not a fast one, but honest. I expect Calculator to take a lot of money here despite being a maiden. I couldn't have him in this spot, to be honest. I liked him as a 2-year-old, but at some point you have to just win, and he's becoming very, very tough to win with by this point. Even though he was nice against American Pharoah, that's also a race where, even though he finished second, he was never going to be the winner of that race. And that just seems to be how he runs his races. He finishes close, but is never really in contention. He's never actually contended for a win to this point. So, he'll probably run an even race like he always does, but he's one who I think is going to take a lot of money and will be a short price that I'm going to take a stand against. So for me, my top choice is Hero 10 All here. I'd also be interested in Unblunted and Pioneer of the West, who's switching back to dirt, finished second to Bronze Star in a maiden race on dirt, and I think was perhaps his best race to this point. So, Hero 10 All, I probably would key him on top and kind of, do some things with exactas and trifectas with Unblunted and Pioneer of the West underneath.
I think the betting will go through Calculator. Some good points. I think the most salient point with Calculator, a lot of times people like these maidens in these stakes races, but I think one of the keys that you mentioned is that sometimes you can run second and you maybe had the lead and then you got bobbed at the end. But I think the key factor is he's got all those seconds and he never threatened to win any of them. And that's a big difference to me, because a lot of times you'll see a horse, they'll take the lead of the 16th of a mile to go, and then the other horse just bobs them on the wire, or they had the lead and then somebody comes from behind, or there's lots of different ways you can run second. But I just didn't think he had a chance of winning those races. So, plus it's been 2 months now. He did have to scratch out of a couple of races. Not a big deal. He's been working out fast recently. I do like him potentially on the lead. What is your thoughts on that? Who do you see as the speed here?
I don't think Calculator will be on the lead. But I would like it if he was, definitely. I think that Rockin' at 10 will be on the lead here. He's a horse who tends to run pretty forward, but I kind of agree with you that I think Calculator's best bet is if he is on the lead. I think he's pretty one-paced. So if you got him out there, pinged him out in front, and asked him to stay, he might be able to be brave and do it. But I'm not sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, I see. To me, like if I knew that he was going to go to the lead, because to me, then you'd have him on the lead with some long workouts. He does have a little bit of class, and then you'd have a bunch of turf horses chasing a fast dirt horse.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scenario. What I feel is going to happen is that either St. Joe Bay is going to go to the lead, or maybe one of those turfers, because it's interesting. All normally those turfers are closers. All four of these turfers have speed. Any one of them could go to the lead. The horse from Gulfstream's got a high speed figure. I think he's going to take a lot of money. I ended up going with Unblunted. Been a big fan of this horse ever since his first race when he closed at Los Ale. Then just really ate up ground, beat up a couple of nice horses in his second race. Cyrus Alexander, the $1.7 million yearling, was favored, and he came back with a couple of other placings. Then I'm just tossing the Golden Gate race. I don't know why he was in that race to begin with. He has no synthetic breeding. He has no turf breeding. I think it was kind of, this is a young trainer. He used to work for Todd Pletcher. He's been around good horses. I remember a ways back when Todd Pletcher was under suspension, when the filly Rags to Riches broke her maiden, the listed trainer was Michael McCarthy. So he's been around top class horses. I just think he misplaced this horse in that last race. It was wide all the way around. You could just see he didn't like it. I'm tossing it out. I think he's going to go up to about 5 or 6 to 1 because I think people are really not going to be willing to toss out that race. Another one who I do like is Pioneer of the West. Now they're saying they may not run, but he ran against the ultra impressive Bolo, and if you notice, he was 2 lengths out at the 6 furlong mark, and then that's when Bolo just went Bolo on the field. And I just think they eased him back and said, hey, we're going to save our horse for another day. But I am reading some rumblings they may not run him. They entered him and they may scratch. But I do like the turf to dirt angle, and I'm going with Unblunted. But I do think if Calculator is going to win this race, I think he's going to have to be on the engine. Otherwise, I like a horse like St. Joe Bay or even the Gulfstream Park horse, Rockin' Atten. We're looking forward to that. And next week we get the LeCompte. That's going to do it for another edition of Down to the Wire.